I'm currently making a 3D Infinite runner, but my design is just so boring. Because there isn't one. That's like shipping your project with the Unreal mannequin as the main character. But I have a solution. With a quick flick of the code, boom! A completely original, oh. Don't worry guys, I just completed my copyright for all Synthwave products, so looks like we're gonna be good here. In all honesty, I didn't realize how popular this genre was. I was actually inspired by light bikes, which if you don't know light bikes, get out. Kidding, it looked like this. Light bikes was a mobile rendition of Tron, and if you don't know Tron, well, it looked like light bikes, but in 140p quality. You see, Tron came out in 1982, which is the same year as Blade Runner, and both of these movies would be the backbone of outrun and cyberpunk aesthetics. To make my game in this style, I would first need a grid, so I hopped into Photoshop and spit out a couple different colors of grid. Then I started slapping that bad boy on everything in my scene. A problem with this is I didn't actually have tiling and offset available since I'm using a custom shader graph. This was my first shader graph I've made, so I was a bit confused, but it was actually really simple once I peeked at the documentation. I don't think I actually explained my shader graph in the last one, so basically all it does is create that world tilt effect which you see in most infinite runners. It's used to stop the player from seeing the spawning tiles, as well as add a nice visual effect. I keep this effect on a very low setting, or else it starts getting really confusing. But this did give me some ideas for future games. I would love to add those ideas to this game, but I know that more delays isn't what I need. I struggle with deciding what features are a necessity and what can come in future updates. What I do need to do is a sound overhaul. My sound effects don't match the style at all, and neither did the music I had before. Now this guy here, this extremely talented individual, puts his music out royalty free. That's right, step aside Kevin McLeod. There's a new man in town. Also, if you're making your own game, he does sell packs of music tailored specifically for games that are synthwave, sci-fi, and horror. These normally include sound effects and some really cool looping tracks, so check that out. I'll put a link in the description to his site. But I'm what they call a brokey, so I'll be making my own transitions as the game gets more difficult. But now that we got tunes rolling with us, we gotta get back to texturing those obstacles. Now this is where my early mistakes came back to bite me in the ass. I hadn't UV unwrapped anything, so that meant even though I was using the exact same texture for everything, it all looked completely different. The solution to this, which I tried not to do, was to go back and UV unwrap all my meshes. Luckily, I was using really basic geometric shapes and a really simple texture, so this was a breeze. It also revealed my very sloppy modeling done for these triangles, which I need to go back and just redo. This process also revealed a couple other models that need to be redone. I eventually throw on a solid glowing color for the objects I plan to redo. I just kept reiterating over and over again until I was pleased with what I had. I figured if everything's on the same grid, it would have the same size lines. But this definitely looked weird. I realized maybe it didn't need to make sense. You're a ball rolling through an infinite tube. It should just look aesthetically pleasing. It was still missing that futuristic glow, so I got to work and, well, I went a bit overboard at first. But I was really starting to see it come together. It was much more visually alive. This is one of the models I was telling you about earlier. Once I applied the texture to it, I could see all the imperfections. I tried to line it up with the offset, but it needs to be remodeled and UV unwrapped. Basically everything did. I decided that the ramp, since connected to the floor, should have the same line pattern. For everything else, I decided to just do the outline, since that made the most sense and it looked the best. Once I got back into Unity, the project looked so visually intense, so I lowered the FOV, lowered the grid amount, and the bloom. I also noticed this funny bug with the ramps. Because I textured them in Blender, they aren't using my shader graph, which results in them not curving with everything else. I could fix this easily by just applying my own material to it, which I did. But it does look kind of cool, huh? Overall, this change wasn't too difficult, and it taught me a lot about aesthetic planning and game development. I need to rework the menu screens now, but I haven't found a font that I like and is free. Hopefully on your next project you'll consider your theme much earlier than I did. Thanks for taking the time to check out my video, and if this is your first time seeing me, consider subscribing. Alright, until next time, deuces.